Welcome to Craft Chat Chronicles, the go-to podcast for tips on crafting best-selling fiction. Here at Craft Chat Chronicles, we bring you expert interviews, insights, and tips on writing, publishing, and marketing. Join the conversation and embark on a new chapter in your writing journey. For workshops, show notes, and more information, visit jdmyall.com. That's jdmyall.com.
In today's episode of Craft Chat Chronicles, we'll be going on another writer's journey with some dear friends. Enjoy!
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of A Writer's Journey. Today, we are going to be talking about writer's block and some tips to help you bust through that. So just to give you a little idea of what writer's block is, if maybe you've been experiencing it and not realizing it. So writer's block is basically feeling stuck while you're writing and not knowing how to move forward. And it's not necessarily based on your skill set or even the limited time that you might have to write. A lot of times it has to do with people who have self-doubt or anxiety. They feel they're not good enough. Hello, imposter syndrome, those sorts of things. But there are some ways to work around it. And so today, myself, Jay Marie, and my co-host will talk about our experiences with writer's block. And then later on, we'll give you some tips that work for us and might work for you. So let's start with you, JD. What are your experiences in your early writing career with writer's block and now, so sometime later?
I don't really experience writer's block as much now. Early in my career, I experienced it a lot more. A lot of times for me, it happened when a story wasn't working. And like I'd be like writing, and then I get to this point where I just can't get the story to come out. And then in a lot of times, like if I took time from it, if I went for a walk or did something and just thought about it, processed it mentally, a lot of times I could figure out, okay, I'm stuck because the story's broken. You know what I mean? I'm stuck because I made a wrong turn somewhere. When I first started working on the book, Heart's Gambit, that's going to be coming out, I had a different type of writer's block. I had anxiety and imposter syndrome based writer's block, because it was like, writing is something I love. It's something I've been doing for years, and it's a goal that I've had forever. But when I was writing with the knowledge that a real editor was going to see it, all of a sudden it was like, oh shit. The panic set in. Is it going to be good enough? Am I good enough? And then all that self-doubt kind of like stalled me for a little bit, and I just had to write through it. And today I don't run into writer's block as much as I run into having trouble tearing myself away from something. Because when you have something you're working on because it's just a passion project and you're just feeling it and loving it, and then you have something else that you like contractually are obligated to do, sometimes you want to chase the shiny ball, and it's hard to force your focus back over here because you're loving this. And I know me, once I do the thing I'm supposed to be doing, I'll lock in and I'll start to like that story and those characters, and then that'll get fun for me. But in the moment where I'm enjoying something else, it's just so hard to make that shift. So I don't know if that's more of a block or just my ADD and my distraction. But that's how it works for me now. How about you, J. Marie? Where are you at with writer's block?
So for me, early on, when I decided, let's try this writer's thing, yeah, I just thought I just wasn't a good writer because you'd be in the middle of something you think is a good idea, and then I just didn't know how to move forward with it. And in retrospect, I understand that I just didn't have the tools. Like I didn't know craft and all that stuff at the time. Now, if it shows up for me, it's less about my skill set and more about my brain just being like, it's been a while, I need a break. So I might need to like have a snack, have a meal, go take a walk, maybe just watch something for half an hour, do something else. And then even coming back to it, either whether it's that same day or the next day or whatever, I'm refreshed and like ready to move forward. And usually once I take that break, ideas start coming. And so if I'm, doing something in my life, I'll write those down, so that when I get back to my seat, I'm staring at my wall, playing the movie in my head, and like I run through all those scenarios or things that I came up with in the meantime. And if it doesn't work, or a lot of times what happens is questions come up. So I'm like, okay, let me write down that question because that's probably a plot hole, or something, character wise that I hadn't thought about previously that maybe I need to work on. Um, so now, like, I understand that anxiety and stuff that I had before that kept me from writing, thinking, oh, I'm not good at this. Let me just procrastinate and do other things. And I'm not a good writer, is more just I need to lean back into my training, lean back into the craft. And then, so those things, I don't really consider it writer's block anymore either. It's just, for me, it shows up as, like I was saying, I need a break. My brain is like, I'm tired. Take a break, and then I can move forward when I come back. How about you, Mo? How has writer's block manifested for you?
So, to piggyback off of what you were saying, a lot of times, like writer's block is this really generic, general term, and then it's up to you to kind of figure out like what exactly is the blockage, right?
Hmm.
So for me, it would show up when I was rushed. Like I am a very structured person. So it's like, all right, it's time to write. So, if I'm getting close to my writing time, but I'm working on the task before and it's not getting out, I'm like, I have to finish this and I get into this mode of starting to rush through, or if I get off schedule, then that used to kind of throw me off some. But then by the time that I would sit down to write, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, now I have to reprogram and reset my brain to, get into the task that now at hand, though I just finished the task before, 5 minutes ago. And so like just not being prepared to write. Um, that's how writer's block will show up for me. Like not being in a settled space, not being in a settled, mind or spirit, still kind of being frazzled. And then like just the calm down period. And once I calm down, mind you, it's 10, 15 minutes later, I done did some breathing exercises. And then now my mind's definitely is totally clear. And I'm like, so what was I going to write? Where do I start? Like, now it's trying to regroup those ideas, recall
Hmm.
them, um, and then even looking at my notes, I find that I can, like, all right, as we get inspired by something and we jot it down. When I'm not prepared, I don't recall very well, right? So it's just like, okay, so like why did that inspire me? What was I like what was that like at the time? Like it's hard for me to get back in that space. Um, so for me, I literally have to 15 minutes before take some time to meditate, take some time to, just relax. Take some time, a few minutes to look over what I'm going to work on so that I can, I can go back to what's going on in a front in a from a calm space. So writer's block for me came up just rushing. When I was rushing, when I was trying to get everything done, when I was just frazzled.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, how just life is lifing, and that can kind of get in the way of the writing process, especially if you're someone like me, like I work full time, so I have to have those set times where I'm writing. And a lot of times, especially during the week, it's not really my best time of day to write. I'm usually at work during that time, which is really annoying. But one of these days, one of these days. Um, so I'm actually going to steal that from you. The meditation thing is actually good, to like take some time at the beginning of that of my writing time and just like relax. Chill, get into the maybe turn on some music, get into the mood a little bit more instead of just trying to like, okay, it's time now. Like, what are my notes? Yeah, that's a good one.
Hi, my name is Kaya Freitz, and I'm currently in the studio recording Heart's Gambit by J.D. Mayall. Chapter 1. Emma Baldwin. Harlem, 1943. When the moonlight hits the circus tents, they bleed. Ruby drops turn to rose petals before raining down on the audience. A symbol. That's all anybody wants. Something that feels bigger than them. No matter the city, no matter the time. Ma always said this when we were fortifying the fabric together, using our hands to imbue the crimson silk with our gifts. Something magical, something beautiful. And if we remind them that we're the best black circus on the circuit in the process, what's the harm? Oohs and ahs ripple as the crowd begins to file into the big top. They settle in their seats and prepare for the show as that bloody rain begins. Find Heart's Gambit wherever you get your audiobooks.
I think like setting achievable goals could help too. Because you can't, whether or not you feel blocked, you don't want to let the imposter syndrome, the anxiety, or just whatever it is that's causing your block to stop you. So after you take the break that you need and you do your meditating, you listen to music or whatever you got to do to get your head back in the game, I think if you set a goal, like let's say I'll stop at 500 words or 200 words or whatever your goal is for that day and just write something. Because even if it's not your best, if you're a good writer, whatever you have, you can edit and you can improve later. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be flawless on the first draft. It's okay to embrace mediocrity and accept that today's work is not my best work. But tomorrow, when I'm feeling better and I'm past whatever this mental block is, I can go back and I can fix it and I can make it better and I can improve it, but I can't improve nothing. So you can't like let it stop you from moving forward.
And like you, Jeanette, like I work full time, and I'm a teacher, and I always say, oh well, during my lunch break, I'll get some writing in, but no, during my lunch break, I want to meditate, right? I need to meditate during my lunch break. So it realistically, again, like it's really kind of difficult when you're working full time. You don't want to let that time that you set aside go.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so for me, what I've learned to do is, I prioritize what's important. Like, what do I actually have to get done today? And I try to keep that to no more than 3 things. So then it gives me a great deal of space in between so that instead of trying to get everything done, and even if I've accomplished everything on my list, I'm not going to be like, okay, well, because what I do is I'm like, Monday I'll do these 3 things. Tuesday I'll do this thing here. Like, I kind of know what I have to do for the week. If I finish for Monday and I still got a lot of time remaining, between the time, I allot for writing, I'm not going to start on Tuesday's work. And that was hard for me because it's like, well, I want to get this done, knock it out, and then I have more time on the tail end. Nope, I rather like still keep the schedule, still be able to go into it with a space, but I don't overschedule, and I don't do more than what I schedule out to do. If it's only 3 things and I do those, I'm done I'm done my to do for that day.
Yeah, that's something
And
I
that's
had to learn too, and setting some type of goal for that writing session. Because I used to just like sit down and write, and be it an hour, 4 hours, whatever. I'm just writing, writing, writing. Because the goal is to do this project, finish this project. But then I would like tire myself out, and maybe a couple of days would go by or a week would go by that I didn't write because I'm tired of whatever. Um, and so it would keep me from moving forward and out, in addition to the anxiety and all that, learning to just set the smaller goals, take little pieces at a time. You're still moving forward, and I'm not over like making, my self-doubt and anxiety increase because I'm trying to do too much. So yes, so setting achievable goals is a great tip as well. Um, so let me run this down for our listeners. So right now we've got setting achievable goals, self-care, so meditation, make sure you're eating, taking care of yourself. It's really important because as the conduit of the story, you need to kind of be in a great place to be able to write. Structure is really important, Mo. That's a good one. Notes, making notes for yourself. That's something I do a lot of, especially if I like life is happening and okay, I set this time for myself, but oh, I gotta go run and do this right now. Making a note, okay, here's where I am, this is what I'm working on, this is what I want to look towards in the next session, so that when I come back to it, I know exactly where I'm at and what I'm working on, as opposed to I've had those same moments where I'm just like, what was I? Why did I write this? Like, what was going on? So you want to keep yourself on track as well.
And speaking of goals, I was doing the artist way
Hmm.
with a few people. And see, there's two versions. Well, there's two. There's an 8 week one, and then there's a six week one. I think it's called Right for Life. But it's all the same concept. And Julia Cameron, and she said that if you write 2 pages a day, even if you start there with like this, the goal is this to write 2 pages a day, you could achieve so much, which is so true. And it also helps prevent that burnout. Like even if
Right.
you're willing to go ready to go more and you got more, but if you just do those 2 pages and build up the writing stamina until and you think 2 pages a month, 2 pages a day and 31 days in a month, you got 66 pages, 30 or 60 to 62 pages a month. That's a lot. When you think about it, and all you have to do is 2 pages every single day.
Yeah, that's actually good. I like that thought too.
Yeah, it's very doable. It's less pressure because a lot of times writer's block also comes from the pressure we put on ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. I love you mentioned the writer's with the artist way. I did that years ago, but one thing that really stuck with me that I actually started doing again was morning pages, where you're
Morning,
just kind of like, yeah, you're just writing. And that type of journaling has really helped me too to get all the junk out of my head,
yep.
to then be creative. Because otherwise, when I'm sitting in my creative mind and then like other stuff is popping up, like stuff that happened at work, and I'm over here and I'm just like, whoa, 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 we're focus on the characters. So that's actually helped me too. I started doing that again this the last month. Um, and yeah, that's great. Just it helps you get all that mess out of your head and you can focus more on being creative.
And so I do it, of course, she suggests to do it in the morning, which is good. But I also found that it's good even if you just do a page before you start actually writing. Because
Hmm.
I like doing it in the morning because it actually clears your mind for the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you're sitting down, by the time you sit down to write, you done got a day's worth of other stuff, rambling through your mind. So I like to do a page, just one, prior to writing as part of, my meditation ritual kind of thing going on.
Yeah, that's a good idea, especially like after work.
Right.
It's like, oh, this person's getting on my nerves, and like, oh, that's out. Yeah.
Spit it out, spit it
Yeah.
out.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like what Mo was saying about getting in the routine of writing pages every day. I like what you were saying about how we need to do self-care. And I think part of that self-care is, like I said, for me, I like to walk because I can think while I'm walking. And the physical activity feels like it stimulates my brain. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's in my head. But to me, I can daydream while I'm walking, and I can process the characters in my mind, and then I can sit down fresh. And So that works for me, the physical activity. Sometimes changing the dialogue in your head. If my head is like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, people are going to see this. Oh, I'm not going to be good enough to change that to change that tape. Change it to I'm about to wow them. I'm going to put my foot in this. They're going to look at this and they're going to be so impressed. And you know what I mean? Just try to change the dialogue you say to yourself. Give yourself a little pep talk. And then like, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm in a really bad place with my writing, I'll like do free writing. Like I know because I'm an outliner, I'm a little bit of a plotter pantser. So I know what I want to do, even though a lot of times the characters will deviate. But I know basically what I want to do. So if I'm really, really stuck, sometimes I'll just start writing and I won't stop to focus on the grammar or the spelling or this, that, and the third. And I'll just try to get it out and then I can go back and fix it. But I feel like if I don't get it out, then it's hard to get past whatever's stopping me. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
because like you're judging whatever it is that you're thinking of,
right.
and like as a creative person in general, you have to shut that away and
Right.
just do the thing, and then especially as writers, you come back as the editor later,
Yeah, you
and
fix
and
it.
then you can look at it and be like, oh, okay, so let's tune this up a bit, and
Mhm. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, I had a writing teacher who was always like, especially when you're doing a first draft, he'd be like, lock the editor in the closet
Mhm,
and just write. And that's something I also heard of, just how to get through a writer's block is just write. Um,
mhm,
it's not good, if it's not good, whatever, just keep going. And just like you were saying, you can always go back to fix it. Um, if you're a newer writer and don't know how to fix it, this is why we have your beta readers or your teacher or whoever in your community, other writers, to give you some notes and tips and how you could potentially move forward. Even just in yourself, if you feel like something isn't good, you're not liking it, come up with a list of some ideas that could work. That's something I learned to do, is just come up with another list of ideas, and go through them, see what works, what doesn't, for the story, for the characters. And that way you're still writing, that's still part of the process, and not allowing that judgment to keep you stuck in that place. You're still moving forward, trying different things, and something will stick. So,
And I
yeah.
think one of my favorite books, it's not technically a craft book, but I guess it could be. But one of my favorite books on writing is oh God, Anne Lamott. I want to say Bird by Bird. I don't know why I think that, but I think that is it, Bird by Word Bird. And she talks about the shitty first draft. And I think, when you're sitting down to write, the expectation should be, because you're going with the expectation that this is going to not be the greatest. It's going to be bad, right? And so I think again it comes about taking that kind of pressure off and not worrying about it, because first of all, it's not as bad. It's not bad in the sense like, oh my God, this is like, we don't know the craft. It's just like, yo, you're going to find holes and they're going to be gaps and they're going to be, you know, plots that, once when we finish, we're like, wow, that's not really working. There's going to be so much that we see, but the expectation is I'm just getting this out of my head, out of my spirit, and onto the paper. Um, so I found that just kind of like, look, it's going to be what it is. It's my shitty first draft, and keep it moving. So I think, you know, just don't have high. So don't set the expectations so high that you feel that it stops you from actually writing. Because I think
Right.
that's part of the problem, is that our expectations be too high for the first draft.
Yeah. Your first draft
And
is not going to be a New York Times bestseller. Just
Not at
this
all.
is true. Nobody's, not even New York Times
Yeah,
bestsellers. First draft was
exactly.
a New York Times bestseller. But yeah, talking to people, communicate with your friends, vent, let them reassure you and help refocus you. And for me, I like focus music sometimes too when I'm in a bad place,
Mm.
because it seems like limiting distraction and having the music in the background can help me claw my way out of it. usually I'm the type of writer that I can write with TV on. I can write with all kind of noise because I have children, so I'm used to writing in noisy situations. But when I'm stuck, I need to focus. I just need the soft sounds of the focus music you find on YouTube. And
Lo-fi is what it's called.
mhm.
And lo-fi is really great because it comes to like, um, if you like, and I use it for the kids. So the the whatever the beats, the most current beats, or of the music that's out now, they'll have that, like say, in a much more softer, way. You find the jazz, you can find Afro beats, you can find this, the lo-fi, music, purely instrumental, like in any genre of music you like, and that is absolutely great. I'm the opposite of you. I grew up the only child. I have only child sensibilities, a whole bunch of noise and all that. Like I can't watch the TV and and listen to music. Like it's one thing at a time, or because I'm nosy, right? I'm curious. So the TV's on and I'm writing and let them be like, well, what happened? How did it, like, it could be nothing, but all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, what happened? Like now I'm over there. I can't tune anything out. All of it's coming in. But I did, for when because my students need that noise, it was so hard for me. And I do English, so I'm like, oh my God, yo, how do y'all right? So I had to learn to write them. I'm like, oh, it's really not that bad because it's instrumental and you could and it's it's definitely made to help you to focus and concentrate. And so next thing I know, I'm flowing and I hear it, but it doesn't bother me. And I actually found that I do, I do pretty good with it. I do really, really good with that the lo-fi focus music on in the background. And I like that, it can come any genre of music you like, there's music for it.
Yeah.
When I'm
JD, I was gonna say, I'm very impressed that you can write with the TV on. Like
yeah, because that's what I was actually about to talk about. Because like when I'm not blocked and I'm writing with the TV on, I have a list of bad shows. I have to watch bad television.
Okay.
Because if it's something good, I'll get distracted and I'll be like, ooh, what's the read doing? You know what I mean? But if it's something bad,
we just need something the sound.
yeah, it's the noise, I told you I have ADD, so the focus, I need that stimulation in the background most of the time, unless I'm blocked and then I can't have it. But like I said, it's bad TV. Good TV will suck me in and I'll get no writing done. But if it's something that's boring, I'll keep it on. And then my kids will be like, because they'll come downstairs and I'll be like, oh, this show is terrible. And they'll be like, well, why are you on season 12? And then I'll be like, because I can write to it. Like, it's terrible, but I can write to this.
Oh my gosh. See, I would be like, oh, this is so terrible. This is terrible writing. Why are they? I'd be like, oh, still all in it, like hate watching. But the one thing about the music I wanted to say, another good thing to do is listening to music that fits your genre. So like I've been writing something fantasy, and fantasy music like are things that I would think of that way, like it would be a soundtrack to whatever I'm writing, helps a lot too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or things that fit your characters. If your
Yeah.
character is like a punky girl, then that type of music.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It sort of kind of puts you it makes you kind of imagine how they would respond, how they act, how they,
Yeah. It helps put you in that like frame.
And the character. You become the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And celebrate your victories. When you get your 2 pages done, when you reach your goal, find a way to reward yourself to help you get into the good routine of constantly doing it and pushing through it. Even if it's just something little. I don't want to recommend junk food to people because I eat entirely too much of it, but
I like that, rewarding
have
yourself.
the cookie. You know what I mean?
Or just a gold star. You get a gold star.
Reward yourself because then that helps your mind
Put it
want
on
to
your
stay in
board
that
so you can see it.
routine.
I'm writing that down. I'm gonna do that for myself. Yes.
And that helps you stay committed to the routine because you get the little reward at the end. I did my thing and now I got my prize. And then that helps you.
I like the sticker thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one last thing, I hear this a lot from all the professional writers. You cannot edit a blank page, basically. So with writer's block, the best thing to do is show up. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is what is like, I don't like the word perfect, but like, what's the best schedule for you all? What have you found works best for you throughout the week in terms of getting that writing time in?
For me, I find that I write best when I first wake up, when I'm fresh in the morning. I tend to create in the morning and edit in the evening because in the evening when I'm tired, the creative part of my mind, I don't need it as much. Well, you know what I mean? Well, I won't say I don't need it as much. It seems like I'm much better at generating ideas when I first wake up and when I'm fresh. But in the evening, that's when I'll like do more of the editing or like even editing videos or something. You know what I mean? Find some
Mhm.
other skill that doesn't require me to just come up with stuff.
What about you, Mo?
I don't think I found it yet.
That's fair.
Because the reason is because even with the schedule, I'm getting better. Like I said, I had to first narrow my to do down to three things because there's always something that needs to be done, some kind of responsibility. All of a sudden, someone's like, "Oh, Mo, I need you to do this, or we need to do this," or um, so I narrowed it down to three things, but I always thought that I was a morning person because I got up early. But I got up early because that was just the way I was raised, right? So I was on a schedule, to go to bed at a certain time when I was young. I actually didn't like to hang out a lot, as a young adult. So I never was the type like, oh, every Friday we're at the party, Friday, Saturday at the club. So I pretty much always had a routine that I would sleep between 10 and 11 o'clock, like all of my life. And so because I go to sleep 10, 11, I'm up, 5 because I got to think for, not having a rush and being on time. But then when I went the, when I was in the program at Drexel and I had to write more, and I had to write after work. And at that time, I was a paralegal, and so I always was bringing work home with me. I found myself plenty of times having to start to write at, 11, 12. The crazy part about it, like about 11-ish, 10 or 11, especially if I was up to, like this paper is due, my packet exchange is due. But I was energized. But like once I started and got into it, like I'm like, oh my God, this works. And it's 3, 4, 5 o'clock. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been up all night and I'm not even tired, but then I gotta get up an hour and I take a little, sleep. And I actually found that that's the space I like to write in. But I can't, my life doesn't allow that. So my ideal space of writing my life doesn't allow. And I try to do this 7 to 9 thing, but that's actually not by that time I'm winding down from the day, and it's a little tiresome for me. So I'm doing it because that's the time, but it's not my best time. So I'm figuring out how to, maybe recalibrate my clock some so that I can maybe do 10 to 1 and still be able to function good during the day because I literally need at least 7 hours of sleep. So my schedule is not the best. It's not the ideal one, and because I know how I'm functioning when it's ideal for me, I kind of feel like, well, it's not the best, but I'm getting something done. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm similar. So my best natural time to write would be between like 8 and noon. And I can do that on the weekends, for the most part. But because of work, similarly, and especially like when I was in the Drexel's MFA program too, I had to force myself to write after work. So I got into this like like 7 to 10, and if I was on a roll, sometime I'd even go to midnight. And I after a while I was like energized and I could do it and like everything was functioning, but I had to kind of force myself and learn to work during that time frame because that's the time I had during the week. Um, I don't I don't like it. I'm still I definitely can't go to midnight anymore, but I'm more of like I'm trying to do the 7 to 9, maybe 10 thing again. But I've been on this. I've been trying to be healthier and all that, and like working out. I have a trainer and all that, and trying to do all of that and fit in time with writing and life. I'm like, there's not enough time in the day. And then they're like, you got to get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. I'm like, how am I doing all of this? So I'm figuring it out too. Um, but yeah, those are my times, like on the weekends, within like an hour, hour and a half of waking up. And then during the week, I've learned to just try and have to do it in the evenings. Yeah, so it's not bad. It's not my favorite thing. One day it'll be my full-time job and I can write when I want to write.
And I
Yeah.
also recognize too, like during the day, because I tried to do it in the when I would get up, so I get up early, I can do this. But I realized I'm actually not up
Mm,
until about 10.
right.
Like I'm physically up at 5. But like when I feel like I'm ready and my brain is alert and working, moving at its peak, its best, it's about 10 o'clock. But of
Mhm.
course, I'm third period at that time, so
Right. Yeah.
I've done that before. I used to get up like 5 in the morning to write before work. I don't get up quite that early now. I do try to do some writing before work. When I was at Drexel, though, I was an assistant manager at a hotel and I was writing at work. I would take my laptop with me, and especially like if I had to do the evenings or the overnights, the guests are all asleep. So when they were asleep and the work was done, I would be on my laptop going and getting all kind of stuff done. And it was night, all kind of weird hours of the night and stuff like that. And I got like a whole manuscript at that job.
Nice. If you can do it, hey, that's nice. Yeah.
Yep.
note to self, maybe I need to go look for a night shift job as an assistant manager at a hotel.
Maybe you said middle of the night. That
Right.
seems to be yeah.
Hey, that's my
And then
time.
at one point, after like 2 years of that, they did finally say something to me about it. Like, why are you always on the laptop at night? Da, 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 da. And they didn't tell me to stop, but they questioned it. So then I was like, okay, well, maybe this is becoming a problem. So then I would go into an empty room that hadn't been rented and put my laptop in there. And then I would grab like a sponge, sponge and a spray bottle, and I'd walk
That's
and
Like
sit in
you
there
were
and type. I'd have the phone with me and the little sign up saying call for service because the guests are asleep. We're talking 3, 4 in the morning. Nobody's there. You know what I mean? Everybody's
exactly.
asleep.
Mhm.
And then I
That's
put the little sign up saying call for service. And then I like periodically walk back and forth and check the desk. And I'd be chilling in the room with the TV on doing my writing and just back and forth, back and forth.
like if you ever get in a position like that again, legal pads work. You
There
know,
you go.
Yeah.
your hand writing it out.
I love that.
But I
That's
mean, the
so
work
funny.
was done. So they shouldn't have had complaints. The work was done. People are asleep. There's nothing going on, you know?
It's not look, you could have been work, could have been sleep. You could have been up in the room.
Yeah. And a lot of employees did that. Be
Hey,
clear. Like a lot of the overnight staff would be knocked out.
I can
And half the
imagine.
time the stuff don't even be all the way done.
And this is interesting that I thought it just occurred to me while we were talking. Sometimes, some writers are young and single and their life is theirs and that may be you may be able to find a job if you learn, your natural flows and your natural times, you may be able to find a job that can accommodate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've got me rethinking my whole like life right now.
Yeah, me too, Janelle. Look, I'm like, wow, man.
Man, I can't tell you how many of them Drexel Zoom classes we had where I would log on and I'm in the hotel uniform.
Listen.
People in my class who graduated with me would be like, "Oh, you're at work again." They would see the shirt, see the background.
Like we give children, assessments and, career assessments, and they're pretty much similar to those personality tests to try to
Hmm.
they're naturally geared to give them a chance to start thinking about, what they want to do post-secondary. But it's interesting how we don't think about what's our natural anything, right? We just kind of get as adults get forced into a space. Like, what is your natural, what is it called? I forget the term, but the natural rhythm.
Circadian rhythm.
Exactly. Like, what is that? Because that's important. It would help you decide to determine better career choices, right? You
Yeah.
might want to love IT. You may want to be, create the games. However, your body may function better at nighttime, and you may need a career that lets you work at night versus being forced into a space that you're not that most productive. But if you can, be nice if you could plan your life around what you really want to do,
Mhm.
or how your body
Yeah.
naturally works.
Well, maybe one day society will get there. One way or another.
Listen, right now, look, this is what I tell people at this moment, this is the best time to put your head down and write and write and write and write and write.
Mhm.
So that, when the dust settles, we figure it all out. At least we have forgotten the manuscript. But like, what were
Yeah.
you doing during, the 2020, after the 2024 election, when the world was all in shambles and everything was going to hell, the world's going to hell in the gas with gasoline draws on. And like, I was right. I wrote this book.
That's what I mean. A lot of people did that during COVID. Like,
Right, I
yeah.
wrote the book.
Same. I worked all through COVID. I was at the hotel masked up writing.
I found the space. I found what I felt my cause. I be whatever it is. But you could say, yeah, I wrote this book too.
We had a guy die in the hotel.
Oh my God.
It
Wow.
was crazy during COVID. I came into work and there was police cars all over the outside of the building. And I go walking in and my boss is all upset and his family was all there. They were in the normal room where people eat breakfast. So we had to close that room for like months. And he had come, I believe he came to quarantine. They claim he came to be away from somebody else that had COVID, but I believe he came there to quarantine because of COVID because he was only there for like 3 days when his niece was calling us panic because he was supposed to check in every day and didn't. And he was gone. And I'm sitting there asthmatic as I am, working every day, terrified, but you got kids to feed. So double mask, my Lysol bottle in one hand, my laptop under my arm.
Wow.
That was a
It's
time.
crazy time. Crazy time.
Well.
That was a downer. I'm sorry.
Yeah. On another note, well, I feel like we had a really great discussion about writer's block, about trying to figure out schedules in terms of when to write, and I feel like hopefully this gives our listeners some great tips and ideas on how to work things out for themselves. Do you have any of you have any last comments before we wrap this up?
Keep
Just
writing.
keep writing. Yep.
Exactly. Keep writing, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again on our next episode of A Writer's Journey. Take care.
Bye.
That wraps up today's Craft Chat Chronicles with JD Mayo. Thanks for joining us. If you liked the episode, please comment, subscribe, and share. For show notes, writing workshops, and tips, head to jdmayo.com. That's jdmayo.com.
Are you struggling to keep your writing organized? Trust me, I've been there. I want to introduce you to Scrivener, the ultimate program for all writers. You can outline, draft, and even edit all in one place. Whether it's your next novel, screenplay, or even thesis, Scrivener helps you stay focused and finish strong. Scrivener adapts to your workflow. From your first draft to the final edit, it's a writer's secret weapon. Click on the link below and get started on your Scrivener writing journey today.